Is crypto becoming the new hot ticket to getting into New York's exclusive social clubs? We're going to take a look at the growing mainstream media buzz around social clubs that require you to buy in with crypto tokens or NFTs. There was an expansive feature in the New York Times yesterday about a social club and DAO known as Friends with Benefits, which the Times described as the VIP lounge for crypto's creative class. Friends with Benefits started out as a small community group chat and grew into a kind of media empire over the last year, it says, with around 6,000 unique token holders. To get access to the community, you need to hold a certain amount of the Friends with Benefits token, and that can cost you thousands of dollars. It markets itself as a place for many things, discovering artists, publishing, it's a startup incubator, and a space to learn about crypto investing. So this is not the only crypto social club that's been in the news lately. In January, Bloomberg reported on Maxwell Tribeca, an 8,000 square foot club set to open in July. To become a member, you need an NFT. Zach, I want to throw this to you first. Is this a new trend? What is so special about these crypto social clubs? And do they really need the crypto bit, or is this just like a different form of, how do you say, like crypto FOMO or something? I don't know.
This is also December 2021. Shout out to Will Gottsegan for getting to the Friends with Benefits story way back when, all those many, many moons ago, looking at this phenomenon of social tokens and DAOs and sort of like token gated communities. I think it's something that, is real. It's in the early innings of it, whether it's, Gary Vee and his like Fly Fish Club to get into a fancy restaurant in New York, or whether it's Friends with Benefits, trying to attract creators and do cool things. I think it's great. I think we're seeing these experiments bubble up. Some will work, some won't. The ones that work could be potentially powerful and just ways to organize communities on the internet, right? That's something that I think is due for a refresh and is a big part of what Web3 says it wants to accomplish. So, I think, it's still early. We'll see what comes of these projects, but certainly ways to think about how tokens can be keys to experiences, communities, or other things is something that is really cool. I always go back to Adam Levine on this show, right? NFTs are keys. Right now, we're in the state where people are just oohing and awing over how nicely painted some of these keys are, without really understanding that they can be keys that open things. And so I think what these social clubs represent is that next evolution of, okay, cool, I have this NFT, but what does it do? Oh, I have this social token, but what does it do? And I think that's a great next step that people are going to try to figure out what makes sense for these things. So again, some of them will work, some of them will fail miserably. But the fact that it's happening, I think, is something that's going to continue to be noted in the New York Times and elsewhere. Will, you have any thoughts?
I have a few thoughts, definitely a few thoughts. The one thing that sparked my interest was that you have to hold a certain amount of these tokens in order to play with it, which is weird because it almost has like a price floor for the token itself. If you have like a limited supply and everyone has to hold the token to be a participant, you basically always have some sort of amount of liquidity in there. And so that might sound super geeky, but what it means is that there's always going to be money within this group, because there's no leakage from the system, right? There's always going to be a certain price value for that token because the holders of it are not selling it. And that brings up like the wealth status of this group, right? They're all going to hold this token and it's basically going to appreciate in price because the price floor can't really crunch down at all. And that brings some more status to it, right? There's, along with money comes the status involved with it. Just like all the other stories we've seen, that's been, the status has followed the money. We've seen, blanking on a few of the names right now, but all the PFP tokens basically have been the same thing. The Bored Ape Yacht Club is the one I'm thinking of. They have like groups for this as well. You hold the token, you hold the NFT, and now you're part of the group, you're part of the class. So I think you're totally right, Zach. Like that's what's going to happen later with these keys. Right now, they're just nice things, but later they're going to open doors to different parts of crypto. And just to keep going on with my little liquidity money story here, that might be the thing that gets these NFTs through a bear market, right? If everyone's holding on to it, they can't sell it, they want to keep having access to like whatever clubs or fun things they get to do, like the startup incubator or whatnot, that might be a way to get through a bear market where you have to keep holding the token in order to get all access to these things. If there's a treasury involved or a DAO involved, then you kind of see a way where this community can continue going forward, where previously a lot of the stuff has been vaporware if there really hasn't been a roadmap to date. Zach, I'll throw it back up to you.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to this airdrop conversation that we were having, right? Like tokens are sort of turned out to be inherently sticky, right? And these are sort of those, okay, I have a little skin in the game in this online chat. I'm going to invest in making this Discord a better place to be. And you know what? If it ends up being a place that I don't want to be, sure, I'll sell these tokens. Maybe there is some liquidity there. So it's an opportunity for me to get out should I not want to feel invested in making this a better place collectively. And so I think as we think about, these online sort of like town squares, right? Having that mechanism, that skin in the game mechanism for like incentivized behavior and sort of collective positive movement is something that Friends with Benefits and many other projects are trying to figure out as they, hang out in Discords all day and talk about stuff. So I'm tossing it to Naomi for her thoughts.
Yeah, I completely agree, Zach. And there are a few things that make NFTs particularly interesting as we explore these new use cases. So first of all, really, these are just ownership tokens. They're things that say, I have ownership over this thing. They can be easily transferred. We've just created a secondary market for all of these things. So generally, when you become a member of a club, you have to go through this central hub where you're like, I want to become a member of your hub. You get approved by that. Well, now we have these secondary markets where you don't need to go through that major hub anymore. You can just be trading between each other. I can transfer, my entry into that club to Will, and it doesn't have to go through the place. As long as I have this token, I prove that I can enter. It's this very interesting kind of paradigm shift of what it means to have like exclusive membership with the club when that exclusivity isn't necessarily dictated by the club itself, right? It like kind of changes the gateway there and the prerequisites. And so we've created this whole new economy. Now we have things like, it's not just that I can transfer my NFT, my entry into this club. I could have, a rental service. We've seen those start to pop up where people have NFT rentals. And when it first came out, we were all like, what? Why do I want to rent an NFT? Is it so that I can have like a Bored Ape on my Twitter profile for like a day? And then we're starting to see, these NFTs have use cases. They're just ownership, their entryway. And so, yes, it makes sense to just rent out an NFT for a day if I want to access that club. So again, we've just expanded the market once more and created this whole new dynamic ecosystem around like membership, which is kind of cool, and we're really at the early stages of exploring what this could mean. So I'm pretty interested in seeing how NFTs develop and how, especially like this social club scene around NFTs develops as well. But Zach, I'll throw it to you for final thoughts.
Yeah, and I think the flip side of the DAO is the social token, and we've seen some early experiments around that. Whether it be with Roll or Rally or some of these platforms, and I think ways to sort of turn that into again a community experience around micro creators and micro communities or whatever. It could be really interesting. But Naomi, back to you.
Sorry, just final thought there as just before we move on to the next topic. I will say that the SEC is starting to look into NFTs. So if you're doing fractional ownership, if you're doing, whatever it is, if you're investing in this, you're thinking that you have partial ownership of a club that you're frequenting, like all of these things come into play, and SEC is starting to look into whether or not these are actually investment contracts and whether or not they're going to be shutting them down soon. So we will see if the SEC is going to ruin another good thing that the tech community has developed. So let's move on. Will, I'll throw it to you for the next story.
Zach, really quick, do you have something?
Oh, I just was going to say, Naomi, you're spot on. Like, also the IRS is looking at this stuff. But as it relates to the securities question, does this give you access to future rewards that are deemed to be similar to a relationship to owning a security, something that's going to be hashed out in the courts probably before long.